I love to cook at home. Having good kitchenware makes all the difference in the world. Not only does good equipment make prep and cooking easier, but it makes it more enjoyable. That's why I'm a huge fan of Made In Cookware. Their wide range of products are designed to be professional quality, but for you right in your home. I have over a dozen pieces from Made In, including pots, pans, a pizza steel, knives, and even beer glasses. Yeah, they have glassware too. They have it all. Take your home cooking to the next level by upgrading your cookware by going to unitedwedrink.com/madein. Find out why pros like Sean Brock, Nancy Silverton, and Eric Repair trust Made In. Go to unitedwedrink.com/madein, that's MADEIN, and upgrade your kitchen and cooking today.
Happy hour, more like amateur hour. Welcome to United We Drink.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another new episode of the United We Drink podcast right here on unitedwedrink.com, as well as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever fine podcasts are found. My name is Mike Urevich. Joining me, as always, are my friends Kevin Abbott, Tim Johnson. How are you fellas doing tonight?
Just lovely.
Yeah, I'm a little
puppy
tired.
in the background.
I got a puppy in the background. I got my two good friends to brighten my evening. So what can I say?
You know, there was a point last episode where the dog was right behind you, and I didn't want to interrupt the conversation, but I wanted to be like, Tim, pet that dog. Because someone is watching and going, please pet that dog. Please pet that dog. Come on, pet that dog. And then eventually you did do it. So I was like, there we go. There we go.
Yeah,
surely a good dog. So
you
pet
have
the dog.
No idea how needy she is. Oh my goodness. I mean, to be fair, she is left home alone during the day, so of course she's going to be needy. I too get needy, so I get it.
What are we drinking tonight, fellas? Tim, I feel like I saw something that's maybe a leftover from Cinco.
Not even a leftover, just something I wanted to have that I picked up tonight. A little mango y chile gelada from Modelo. I don't know. Like it started off as a great day. I got pretty kind of glum, so maybe I'm trying to wish summer back into existence here by drinking something fun and refreshing. But I'm quite enjoying it.
I saw friend of the show, Matty Smooth from New Belgium, post a picture of snow at his home in Fort Collins. So it could be worse, I guess, right?
It could be. I think I saw maybe just traces over the weekend, but I don't know. It's that time of year in Minnesota where it's going to be 40, it's going to be 90, it's going to be 40, it's going to be 90. It's going to be 40 and 90 in the exact same day. It's going to go 40 to 90 to 40. So we have had our first 90s here already, and we've gone right back into like below freezing. So what are you going to do?
You're going to control the weather and tell it to get its shit together because, you know, Democrats, we control the weather, right?
I need more space lasers.
Kevin, what are you drinking?
Right now, I'm drinking a Pacific Edge, our West Coast Pilsner that I've already kind of waxed poetic about, I think, on several shows. But I also have a backup of my Breaking the Silence Pale Ale, which was released when we were recording it last Saturday, the beer that we do to benefit Survive First, the charity for first responder mental health, which was one of the best releases we've had really ever. We had a lot of people turn out for it. A friend of the show, Sam Fanor, who does our, he was on the show and also does our social media marketing, just knocked out of the park and got a bunch of people out. We raised a bunch of money for Survive First, and it's really, really cool.
That's excellent. That's awesome to see. Yeah, I saw some videos on your page. You've been pushing it hard, so I'm happy that you guys had a good turnout for that, and I hope you raise a lot of money and uh, sell out all of that beer.
We added an order of magnitude to the amount of 6-packs we sold day one from the year before. So
Awesome.
that's pretty good.
Nice.
I apologize for touching my face. I know that I do that a lot, and I'm trying very hard not to do that. So for those of you watching the show on YouTube or Spotify, keep on reminding me that I touch my face too much. So
Is that a thing? Is that really a thing? People
I
have
thought you
reminded you
were
that?
to get me to steal second. is
No.
what I thought was going on.
That's the thing is I only noticed it last week when I'm paying more attention to like, hey, I'm on video that's being recorded, and like, holy shit, I touch my face a lot. So I'm trying very hard not to do that. So we'll see how well this goes.
Good luck.
I fucking need it. I'm drinking cider today. I'm having Ashmed's Kernel, a single apple variety from my friends at Plowman Ciders in Pennsylvania, and it is a dry hopped with triple pearl hops. It is still. I forgot that sometimes they make still ciders, and I'm not the biggest fan of still. I like having some effervescence from the bubbles, but it's still like a super bone dry cider. So, and it's like super citrusy and beautiful, and a little bit of like funky rusticness in there. But I love them. I've talked about being a member of their cider club for years now, and then I just have like a juicy haze from New Belgium.
Shocked.
It's just that's just a regular one. Although I only noticed recently that this says India Pale Ale brewed with spice. So the drugs from Dune is in this. Is that what I'm gathering? Maddie, I need answers on this. I never noticed before that beer says that it has spice in it. So
I think that just means love. It's brewed with love.
Aw.
Mike, you've actually gifted me a couple of those ciders over the years that you're talking about from that cidery, right?
Yeah. I had it at my wedding.
They have such gorgeous labels. I love what they do with those. It's an amazing brand.
Yeah. I think that they sometimes send some down here. I know that they've done like Tampa Bay Beer Week for stuff before. But like family run operation, they own the orchards where the apples are grown. They've been a multi-generational fruit farm for many generations, like I said, in central Pennsylvania.
What are the odds?
They just opened a tap room in Philly in this past year, so I always love supporting them.
I think that's awesome that they're doing some still. I think I would tend to be with you and want some effervescence, but I like the idea of doing still just because not everyone wants that too. I think it's introducing people to I think there's still too many people that conflate beer and cider, and so I like that it's bringing something different there as well.
It's really interesting how like cider is like its own beverage, but it really plays in the brewery like playground and sandbox as opposed to wine, which it is more closely related to.
I think because it's priced a lot more like beer, you see it on tap, it's sold.
Yeah.
Right. You know, it's funny. I used to work with a woman on the beverage team at B Dubs that called it cider beer, and it drove me up the wall. And then I would correct her every time, and then she'd get mad at me and say I was dumb and pedantic. And I'm like, but they're two different things. Like they're two. Do you wear your sweater tank top? Like that's not. They're two different things. You don't get to call them both.
No, that's maddening, and I'm glad you said that because I was going to say the exact same thing. Whereas I've had people when I worked at Funky Buddha back in the day, and we had like a cider on draft, or like Crispin or something like that, they would be like, "What kind of beer is this cider?" I hate you. I hate you so much. Please don't do this to me. Is the only thing that I could respond to something like that.
Well, also just the number of people that would come in and say, "Well, you guys should make a cider," and I'm like, at this point, I am all for people diversifying their portfolio, being a beverage company. At the same time, it always struck me as someone going in to McDonald's and getting really mad that they don't have Chinese food.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
like to me, it's still just like a. To me, as a producer, aside from the fermentation piece of it, they're very different. In a process standpoint, it just seems like, especially when I don't want adventitious microbes from fruit coming in to infect my beer and vice versa. Like it just, to me, it seemed like such a silly thing. And then I'd remind myself that that's not the way the consumer thinks, but it still felt silly.
You know,
I will say though, my McDonald's has spaghetti and blankets though.
and blankets. So it's funny. I was having a conversation with another brewery owner today, and they were telling me about how they're really changing their dynamic and doing a lot of co-packing and doing a lot of the things that breweries have to do to survive these days. And talking about the THC beverages and RTDs. And I remember when breweries were talking about like, oh, we need to diversify and do ciders. And that was gonna be the savior, right? That was gonna be the thing that everyone did to add a line because ciders were the next big thing, and people were all into them, and you don't see them anywhere anymore. And listen, I know that I don't know. I am pretty confident that certain aspects of the RTD and the seltzers and other things that are being made right now are here to stay. I'm not saying they're not. But it is interesting that we've always had this like moving goalpost of everything that's not beer that was going to be the savior of the beer industry. And it has shifted a lot over the years.
I'm telling you, soup beer. Not beer soup beer. It's coming. You wait for it. Kevin, I hope you're getting the crock pots ready over at Barrel of Monks.
I'm writing down a recipe as we speak.
Crock of Monks.
Well, I'm getting a bunch of lentils.
I also feel like cider. I feel like cider is a thing that is. It probably does better in locales where there's seasonality, like
Probably,
where there's where apples are possibly grown, and like it's just because I mean I remember from growing up like having apple cider in the fall and it being like this wonderful seasonal drink, and I think that it's something that just kind of lends itself to locales that have like apple culture and seasons and all of that. Apple culture, you know, that's something.
That classic term that every single person uses all the time. They're just always talking about the apple culture, the pear culture. Their stone fruit culture is it's really kind of avant-garde and out there. But
you know, the apples they've developed their own dialect over years too. It's a very distinct style of art that comes out of the apple culture.
You know, it's funny because I loved the cider craze that gave us like Crispin and those dry ciders that I really enjoyed. There was a really great raspberry cider that was made out of Florida Beer Company up here or down here or wherever you're from. It's some direction from here. And anytime I have a good cider, it's that perfect example that I hate from other people that talk about my beer, where I go, man, this is really good. Why don't I drink this more often? You know, like I have that same experience. Whereas like a brewer, when you're like, oh, I love your triple, man, when was the last time you had it? 6 years ago. And I go, well, drink it more often, asshole. And I feel like any person making cider is saying the same thing about me because they're really delicious. They're just never front of mind. they're not in the commercial space in the same way. And I think that's one of the big things that kind of really held back that growth.
We have a couple good cideries here. The one that makes Trail Magic, for instance. Then I know you guys
that's
can
right.
get down
That
there.
is a cider company.
The one that bought Crispin as well. It is up here, and so I do like it. Maybe it has to do with our apple culture. I don't know. I don't think you're wrong.
Hashtag apple culture.
I do remember one time during American Craft Beer Week, we encouraged all the restaurants to pick a local craft beer to highlight and let us know what it was so we could help support that from a marketing standpoint. And one of the Ohio franchisees or district managers or whatever really wanted to do Angry Orchard. And we're like, well, one, not a beer. Two, I know Boston Beer does have a facility there, but is that really what you want to highlight as your local craft beer during American Craft Beer Week? And they were just adamant, and it really just came down to they were getting a deal on kegs. And it was like, well, then what is the point? So whenever people complained about like the inconsistent craft beer experience at Buffalo Wild Wings, I want to be like, oh boy, if you only knew. There were 3 of us at the home office trying to get all of these people that we were Wings Beer Sports, and I had a regional manager tell me much. Yeah, I just don't care about beer. And I'm like, you don't have to care about it, but you got to know. We had a guy that won GM of the year before, and I was in a store, and he's like, I didn't realize Guinness was on a different gas mix, and I was just like, so.
I think you might have just highlighted something that I didn't realize. We're trying to figure out why didn't cider take hold in the U.S. like it does in England, where cider is like on every pub there's a cider on. I think it's because one of the largest commercial examples of a cidery in the U.S. was Angry Orchard. If it had been Friendly Orchard, I think it would have worked. Why all the anger, tree? It's mean. There's no need for that. We need more love. That's what I'm saying.
I
should have worked on its breathing and positive release.
Yeah, positive reinforcement. I mean, there's all these things. My son, when he gets angry, we do the angry spot. There's all these things you can do. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a real shame. Thanks a lot, Boston Beer.
I also didn't know Boston Beer has a facility in Minnesota.
No, this was in Ohio.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
Yeah. No, as far as I'm aware, they're not doing anything here. I think the only place like here that's doing large contract stuff is up in Cold Spring, which I didn't realize they were still making beer up there as well. I was under the impression it was pretty much all contract stuff. But apparently, I mean, they won some awards at the Minnesota Brewers Cup, so they must still be making things. I don't know. I saw the awards list for Minnesota Brewers Cup, and I was like, I didn't realize that brewery was still around. Back to our previous conversation about shelf space dwindling and draft lines dwindling, but let's not be negative.
let's not. All right, so let's get into talking about our main topic today. And we're going to discuss something. This is crazy that this has never been a topic for discussion here, and that's hiring. Like, because breweries need people to work there, to make the stuff, to...
Slow down, Mike. Slow down. I'm confused.
Okay.
Explain to me how this works.
Okay, so mommy loves daddy. And then this is... Oh, went too far back? Okay. All right.
I thought we were just going to go down like an AI making beer route. I didn't realize we were going to go making the people that make the AI to make the beer.
You got to make the people that make the AI. AI can't exist without us, right?
Yeah, you need the people for AI to eliminate the people. Does not seem circular at all.
You need people for AI to be able to eliminate them.
Yeah, that's true.
Terminator would be really, really boring if the AI didn't have people to kill. So
What if the Terminator didn't realize that all along it was really after itself?
Let's just stop this podcast and write that movie.
The real Terminator was
it's already been
along
written
the way.
because someone came back in time and wrote it. Getting into time travel.
No, it's confusing.
No,
yeah.
So if I had a time machine, I'd go back to 5 minutes ago and reroute this conversation back to our topic.
And then I would go back to 6 minutes ago and I would punch Tim when he comes back.
You can't work out in 6 minutes. It's 7-minute abs.
So has everyone
that was an amazing minute and a half of podcasting that will live on forever.
We're going to win a Webby one of these days. Right?
At least an Appley.
That means no.
First annual Apple Culture Awards for outstanding achievement in the field of excellence.
Brought to you by Angry Orchard. All right. So has everyone in this call been in charge of hiring at some point at a brewery?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not fun, I would say. Would you agree, Tim, Kevin?
Tim?
I wouldn't say sign me up for the weekend to do it. But generally, I would say most of the time when I was hiring, it was a good thing, right? Because if we were growing or something else was going on, and that's kind of exciting. And seeing new resumes come across your desk sometimes can be fun. I enjoy actually the process of interviewing people. That said, it is an arduous process. You get a lot of separating the wheat from the chaff, and the resumes is difficult, and the applications, or the people who walk in off the street, or all of those things. Not always an easy process. So I get why a lot of people tend to kind of forego the job posting thing and then just go actively recruit friends or brewers from other breweries or things like that.
Yeah.
Kevin, you.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm kind of echoing Tim's statements. I think there's some wonderful things about hiring. I mean, in an ideal world, and maybe I'm just being idealistic, I love hiring because I'm hopefully giving someone an opportunity to do something they really want to do. And I'm hopefully, if the situation aligns right, just giving someone an opportunity to do something they love or bettering their life in some way. And that's amazing. That's a fantastic aspect of it. And I've had the joy of doing that many times and having those things work out really, really well. The real difficult aspect of it is having people that are unqualified or underqualified, having people that maybe misrepresent their skills or desire to do something. The separating the wheat from the chaff is a great analogy for that. And it becomes very nerve-wracking because you have one position open and you've got to make a good decision, and it's up to your own instincts, and you sometimes fuck up and hire someone who's not the right fit for you. And it's really, really difficult when that happens, because the ripple down effects for bringing someone into your team, especially a small team, like for instance, my brewery, 3 people, you bring one person into 2 other people as far as a team, they can really negatively affect things, both in just day-to-day operations or morale or anything. And you just don't know until you put someone down there and figure out what the hell's going on. So it's just stressful, and there's a lot of anxiety that goes into it for me.
Yeah, I never even thought about the whole dynamic of what like, yeah, a 3-person team, you add one more person who is potentially negative, like now 25% of your workforce has this negativity to it, and that could change very quickly into 50 to 75, 100%, depending on how impressionable everyone else is. But man, like I think back to I haven't been in charge of hiring people since the first brewery, so I'm thankful for some of that. I've had input into some of those things, and what Tim said is right. Sometimes, like, going through resumes and trying to find some, like, looking at what skills come across can be fun sometimes, because you might you might I mean, I feel like very rarely you would get resumes of people with experience, especially early on, like in the time that we came into this industry. You weren't seeing
Sure.
resumes that of people who had cellar experience, brewing experience. They might say that they're a home brewer on the tail end of that resume, but like, you would try to look at, like, okay, what has this person done that could work out into the brewing industry, can translate over into it, and then, like, let's bring them in for an interview. Let's talk. Let's see how well they think on their feet, and all of that. So it's always been this, yeah, this crazy mixture of, like, people blowing their resumes way out of proportion, people who underplay what they're good at, and people who are just like, yeah, I just want to learn, and I want to do this. Like, it's so many different people came across the aisle during my hiring days. To it's fun, but at the same time, it's really stressful, because at the end of the day, these are people's lives that you are having a control over, and, like, I don't know how much I really want to do that at that level.
I mean, so as someone who's also been a hiring manager outside of the industry and something completely different, I think kind of one of the universal things is even in brewing, where in kind of the nascency of this recent craft beer trend of the last 20 years, you didn't get a whole lot of experience. I think uh, resumes always can be deceptive, and not because people are committing puffery, but we just overvalue specific experience. And I can tell you, some of the worst hires I ever made had exactly the right experience, but exactly the wrong attitude or the wrong approach, or they had learned bad habits that they couldn't break, or like all these other things, right? Like, if I were to say, hey, I want a brewer with 3 years of experience doing, specifically, yeast harvesting and cell counting and running a packaging line, and like those specific things, I could find candidates that had that just weren't the right fit culturally, or, like I said, learned too many bad habits, or sometimes thinking that they understood a different way of doing things, and that unfortunately happens across industries, where people just get too seduced by experience rather than aptitude.
There are so many things. I mean, just in that avenue. I mean, we could talk a lot about that, and the experience that people bring to the table, the overestimation of their own skill set, your also desire for a person to fill a role, and the wishful thinking aspect of, like, wouldn't it be amazing if this person worked out? Because it just, everything else kind of clicks. But there's some things that might on the resume might be some pink flags, and you go, well, maybe I'll just kind of ignore them because I want this to be true so much. But I do want to go back to something you said, Mike, and I, just from my own personal experience, like Tim, I had experience being a person in charge of hiring and firing in a previous job in a previous industry, the restaurant industry. And I was involved in the firing of a person that was competent and pretty good at their job, but for whatever reason wasn't popular and might not have been perfect for the role, but I think a lot of the negatives were overstated. And once again, I was part of this conversation. I could have steered it in a different direction, and I was part of letting someone go. That haunts me to this day. I think about it all the time. And at one point in my career, I was like, I never want to do this ever again. I want no responsibility. I have bad judgment because I let this happen because this was not the right call. And it took years for me to be in a position again where I said, well, I'll take this on. And some of it was just kind of forced upon me because of the necessity of where I was at Bear Le Monks. But, when I started at Funky Buddha, I was happy just to work. I did not want to be a manager. I did not want to bring people out underneath me. I just wanted to work. And there is something lovely about not having that stress on you. It's, by the way, the person who got let go got off worse than me. Like, I'm like, woe is me kind of thing. No, they're the one that got fucked over, not me. I just want to stress that completely. But I'm saying that to kind of just relate. This stuff sticks with you. When you're responsible for someone else's livelihood, good or bad, even when you're bringing them in and giving them an opportunity and feeling great about it, like, that's a big responsibility. Mm-hmm. Like, and we should be looking at these choices in that way and not downplaying the importance of those decisions that we make.
I think the other aspect of that too is you're working with their livelihood. You're also impacting everyone else who is already on your team with that hire.
That's so important to say. Yeah.
So you one hire is not one person's life in the balance, so to speak, right?
It's multiple.
I mean, you lose job satisfaction because of bad chemistry or bad fit, or tolerance of incompetence, or those types of things. That it sucks to go to a job that you hate, that you used to like, right? And one bad hire can do that too. So I mean, not only are you trying to figure out, is this someone that I'm not going to have to fire in 6 months, but also like, am I going to have to be hiring again in 6 months because now other people have left?
Yeah. I don't have a direct connection to that, but one thing that just it pops up in my head is when you aren't even maybe a firing person, but you are dealing with one of those types of employees, and you're hoping that person gets fired, and you're hoping like, we need to get this person out of here. They're fucking up the flow, and the firing person won't do it for a myriad of reasons. Like, I mean, I remember first brewery, we kind of had one of those situations going on there where Big Boss would not let us fire someone until eventually, like, the stuff piled up so much that like, Joel kept a book about all the fuck ups that this guy did, and eventually just went to him and was like, here is everything over the last, I don't even remember how long.
Was it me?
I was going to say, was it Kevin?
Guys, it was Kevin. Kevin. No. So eventually the boss was like, well, if you think that we should do it, like, I don't even remember the exact wording, but like, it was, he tried to make Joel feel bad for wanting to do this. And like, Joel didn't give a fuck at that point in time. But so Joel fired him,
which is much different than the way fucks Joel gives most of the time.
So it was just, we were finally given, or Joel was finally given that power to make that change, and it helped immensely.
Mhm.
But I mean, I remember also trying to hire a salesperson there and interviewing a number of people with our main sales guy. We were trying to get a second salesperson, and the we I don't remember how many people we interviewed. Our number one choice unanimously, we were like, okay, this is the guy that we want to hire. And then we're like, okay, how much can we offer to him? And it was such a low number. Like, oh my God, we're going to insult this guy. And he's going to be mad at us. And like, I don't want him to be mad at us. And it was just such a, when you're a hiring person, but you don't get to make all of the calls in that stuff, like it feel that, I think that's probably the part that I hated the most about it. Why I said I fucking hated it is, if I could make the calls on the money and who the person is, awesome. Like, I think that I could do a good job of that. But the fact that, like, we interviewed a bunch of people, we found someone that we really liked, and then like, well, this is how much we're going to offer them. Like, oh, that is low. They're not going to take that. And I'm going to look like a fucking asshole. And
Yeah, I mean, and that's tough in small businesses like breweries, because a lot of times what happens is, it's like, say you're the head brewer. All right, you get to hire and fire, but really it's going to come down to what the owner wants, right? That happens a lot in a lot of those
Yeah.
small places, because I can think about plenty of times where, like, whether it was me or someone else that was a peer, like one time one of our sales people wanted to hire candidate X, and the owner really wanted candidate Y, and they had said that it was the sales manager's call, but it really wasn't. And so then they ended up going with person Y, and person Y was the mistake, and person X would have been the right one, right? And how defeated he felt because he got overruled, and he turned out to be right, but boy, that's not something he wanted to be right about.
Yeah.
He didn't want to be right that this is the wrong candidate to hire. And I think sometimes when you are a place like that, or you're on a hiring committee rather than just leaving it up to that one person, yeah, that gets messy.
one thing though that would probably cut, not all of it, but a lot of that out, is transparency on pay range,
Oh yeah.
on listings, on job listings. Like, the whole pay is based on experience. Like, that's fucking bullshit. You have a number in mind, and like, you have a scale. You
Mhm.
obviously have a scale. Just put it out there. Even if it's bullshit, and that like a lot of people who have experience might say no to that. Like, okay, you save some people some time, and you're going to get what you deserve.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree. Put pay scales out here. My only caveat is on the, even if it's bullshit, because I've seen jobs out there that are like, that their pay range is literally like 60,000 to 200,000, and I'm like, there is no
Yeah,
way in
that
the
is.
world that is your real range. And if it is, you are really not treating your employees fairly. Like, not like, earning potential with bonus or commission or whatever. It's literally like base pay sometimes has these wide ranges, and you're like, I wouldn't want to work for you even if you paid me on the high end, because you're obviously not showing enough equity to your employees, if that's the true pay scale. And if it's not, you're still trying to look to take advantage of someone willing to work for less.
Yeah.
The only pushback I'll give to that, and this probably won't be popular, and you guys can beat me up if you wanna, I can take it. We are literally right now trying to replace a low-level cellar worker that we had hoped would be a person that could kind of step up and eventually learn to brew.
Mhm.
Because we need a brewer, right? We
Yep.
need someone to help Ralph out. And
Yep.
we've consistently had people who had low-level skills or no skills in the beer industry. And the idea was that hopefully we can train them and they'll stick around long enough and they'll show an aptitude and a passion to do it. And it hasn't worked out. Now, when I say I'm looking for someone in the back of the house, for low-level cellar work, if I put out the number that I'm looking for, nobody with real skills is going to send me an email. But this is the thing. If someone sends me an email that has more skills, I'm willing to pay them more. Like, I would have to put that large range in there. And once again, maybe that's wrong. Maybe I should have done that. But I will say is that the people that I have talked to with skills that actually can brew, I am 100% transparent with them during the phone call. When they reach out to me, I tell them exactly what the number is that we were looking to replace that person with. And I say, if you have this skill set from your resume, I'm willing to work with you.
Mhm.
I'm willing to bring that number up significantly. And if you have a number that's nowhere near that, we're $15,000 off. I don't want to waste your time. But I do want to have that conversation because I want to be able to bring this to my partners and say, listen, I've got a person here that's interested. And if we can give them something commensurate to what they're looking for, I can stretch that payroll a little bit more. So once again, maybe I'm the asshole here and I get it, but I do want that person to reach out to me in a passive way where it's not that intrusive, where they don't have to go through a whole interview process in this like dark, hidden thing. But I do want to be introduced to that person and at least have the opportunity to give them the salary that they're asking for.
Well, I mean, I think you still put a range, and everyone knows that's negotiable. I'm making more than the range was for the job that I applied for, and it was listed. And I think the other thing that it sounds like you have, Kevin, is two different roles and one headcount to fill. And if you think about it that way,
Yeah.
I can hire for this skill set, or I can hire for this skill set. And now I've got two, only one headcount to fill.
Yeah.
You technically have two different roles that you're hiring for, and I would start to look at it from that way. Know whether or not that's two different job listings, and you only fill one headcount, which happens all the time, right?
Sure.
20 positions posted, only 5 people get hired, type of thing. I understand it's double the work on postings and all of that
Sure.
stuff, but at the same time, that does help kind of give experienced people a feeling. If they see there's two jobs out there, right, and they go, oh, okay, well, I might be a more fit for the senior role, or I might be a better fit for this junior role, and they can kind of help self-select in that way too. That's
good advice.
That's the way I would look at it.
That's very good advice. I like that.
So one thing that I'm for in that whole field is like I love that there are states that have pay transparency laws. Tim, you live in one of them, according to the list that I looked up. I knew about some of them, like California and Washington, but there's 13 states right now that require pay transparency on job listings, with three more that have passed laws that just haven't come into effect yet. Like I think that this is a good thing for workers, and like if you've listened to this show before, you know that I'm very much for workers' rights, and so let's move on from the pay part of it, like, because this is such a wide encompassing thing, hiring, like such a broad term to really speak of, unless anyone else has something specifically related to pay that you.
I was just gonna say the pay transparency has one major caveat that would not affect most of these, or that would affect most of these breweries, is that if you're 30 employees or smaller, you're not required to list it.
Oh, is that okay? That's something for your state, or is that
I know that's the Minnesota law. It went into effect last year.
Okay.
I think all states have certain caveats to them, and I would also tell you that that law might be on the books, but you go out to any job board in any one of those states, and you will see that it is in clear violation, and no one is doing anything about it.
Oh yeah,
I've seen
the
people
enforcement
point
of
out
something.
Yeah. I until there's significant fines for something like that, then they're just going to say, "Oh, you."
Well, one of the things that I wanted to talk about in this situation, just with the hiring aspect, that I find so interesting. It's such a human thing that we all deal with, and I just have never really had a conversation with anybody about it. It's that when you go to one of the things I told Ralph, my head brewer, when we had two interviews with people recently to fill a cellarman brewer position. I also recently hired a part-time sales representative. So I've been dealing with hiring a lot recently. But one of the things I said to Ralph is that, this person's coming in here trying to sell themselves to us. And I really want to sell ourselves to them because I want them to kind of know who we are, and I want them to be impressed by what we do. And I don't want to look at that as a kind of one-way street. Like, I think it's really important. So they know exactly who we are. We know exactly who they are. And if it's a fit, it's a fit. If it's not a fit, let's figure this out right now in this room, in this one interview, so we don't waste anyone else's time going forward. And that's I think, a very good thing in practice, right? Not sugarcoating anything, showing the warts. Hey, listen, these are the things you might not like about me. Like, this is how I deal with situations, or blah, blah, blah. But the human nature in that situation is to be the best version of yourself. Like,
of course.
You sit down in an interview and you list my strengths, right? And you can go into an interview and say, "Oh, give me your number one weakness." And it's like, I care too much, right? Like, it's always the thing, right? I bring my work home with me. And I have such an appreciation for people who are honest about their flaws and what they struggled with in the past. And I've had the joy of experiencing that in multiple interviews, but also missed out, many people who have hidden those things in the past too. And it really is so interesting because you sit down at the end of an interview and all you're evaluating for the most part is what they presented to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying, I'm going to pick between these two people or these five people. And you're like, I'm not really picking between those five people. I'm picking between those five people's best version of themselves. And I have absolutely no fucking clue how they're going to be on a daily basis, because they're not going to show up in a nice dress shirt and a tie. And because why would they? They're working in the brewery, right? Like, you're not going to be representing themselves in this way every day because it's a different vibe. So I obviously everyone's experienced this, whether you've been hired or you're hiring people. But it is something that in the middle of this, and I mentioned it to one of the people that I was talking to recently, and was kind of saying, like, let's get all this stuff out. Let's kind of be who we are and be honest with ourselves as much as we can, as much as any person can, so that we can figure out whether it's worthwhile to go forward with this or say, nah, this isn't it.
So great point. First thing I'll say on that is why I always implore people who are job seeking, who are going to interview, remember that is your job to interview the hirer. Yes, 100%. As well. You need to be asking them questions. You need to be understanding, is this a good fit for you? Because even if you desperately need that job, are you going to be turning around looking in 6 months? And maybe that's fine, but you need to know going in, hey, did I ask the right questions? What are the things that are negotiable, non-negotiable? What are the things? Why are the reasons I left my last job? Be thinking about all those things so you can ask probing questions to get that. And the converse of that, hiring managers do not do a good enough job of interview prep. They do not do a good enough job of interview prep. A lot of them have like the same, like I used to sit in interviews all the time at Best Buy. And like these guys would just work off of this stupid script, and it was probably given to them by HR and all of this. And I was like, whoa. First of all the questions you're asking can be answered by the resume and cover letter. Quit asking those questions. Why are you hiring? Are you hiring because this is a new position? Are you hiring because you're replacing someone? What was wrong about the person that you're replacing? Start to get into culture questions. Don't tell me about. Don't tell. I hate when people start off with, "Why don't you just walk me through your resume?" I don't fucking give a shit. I can read. Like, no, I want to understand. Like, like, you know, if they're going to be a culture fit, how they get along with their coworkers, right? I ask them a much. I always ask people in the last 6 months, tell me about your best day on the job. And then on in the reverse, in the last 6 months, tell me your worst day on the job, because then I can see what motivates them, what doesn't motivate them, how they leverage coworkers, those types of things. Those are the things we need to be doing, and people don't really sit down and they do a needs assessment. They think their needs assessment is, I need a brewer who can do these things. Cool. Then why even have interviews? You could just pick out of resumes. What
Sure.
you're really trying to get at is, I need someone who won't fight with my cellar person. I need someone who will show up on time. I need I need someone who's more innovative. I need someone who's more curious. Like those, like whatever the shortcomings were that you're replacing, or what are the shortcomings that your brewery has themselves. When you're honest with yourself about your deficiencies, or maybe I already have 3 outgoing people on the staff. Maybe I actually would benefit from having an introvert. Maybe I have 3 experienced people. Maybe I would benefit from having someone with experience in a different industry, like doing that type of assessment. And I would say 90% of hiring managers suck at it. They suck at it.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Is like being boilerplate about your interviewing for stuff that you could just pick off of a resume. You don't hire just off of a resume. You hire by a combination of the resume and the person and their ability to navigate a conversation essentially with you and give you answers to other questions, intangible questions.
I know this isn't actually hiring. Have you guys seen Severance?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so first of all, it's freaking amazing. It's a great show.
Yeah.
But there's the scene in the first episode where this person is already hired, but it's like like integrating them into the team, and they have to read from this book with like someone overseeing the entire operation. And everything you were saying, Tim, all I was thinking was, this is just Severance, right? Just like going step by step through these like mundane things to get them kind of lined up. Now,
You got to have innies in the brewery.
yeah.
Is the innie an alcoholic or is the Audi an alcoholic?
Probably both. I mean, it's the same chemical dependency with the same body. I really like everything you said about that, Tim, to the point where I was like, can you just come down and do this for me? because no, I mean, I do. I mean, I say that in jest, but like I do think I have some of those same instincts that you're talking about, but I think the structure you're talking about is really, really important. And thinking about this in a different way is my biggest goal, right or wrong, is I don't want to be doing this again in 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be doing it for my team. I don't want to be doing it for myself. I don't want to be doing it for that person. I do not want to oversell what we can offer and misrepresent that to the point that this person wastes 3 months of their time with me when they could have been doing something else. Right now, I'm happy to, if they need a job, and I'm happy to pay them, and if that gets them through the day, I've done something. But I don't want to just be a stopgap in a bad situation that could be possibly made worse. And that's what I'm really trying to weed out in this. I had a phone interview that talking about earlier. I told them the floor of what we were willing to pay. Told them, listen, I'm willing to go up on this because you've got more experience. I had a great 25-minute conversation with this guy. He told me he'd follow up with me, and he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I respect that. I'm not going to reach back out to him. He has all the information he needed. If he wanted to follow back up with me, he would have.
Yeah.
Whatever I said made him not be interested in going forward. That I did my job there. I gave him a realistic version of what he was going to expect. And maybe I could have sold more that I was willing to work with him on pay. But the fact that he heard what he heard, that's fine. I'm happy. I'm always happy to quote unquote push people away and kind of almost convince them not to take the job, because I think that's giving them a more realistic version of what that is. When we sit down and we have this, we're a family around here.
Yeah.
No, we're fucking not.
Yeah.
Okay, and if we are, we're a dysfunctional fucking family you don't want to be around. Like, no.
I like most of my coworkers. That's it.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I hate that mentality.
Yeah.
Like, no, this is a symbiotic relationship. In the best case scenario, this is a symbiotic relationship. We both get something out of this. And one day you'll walk out and go, this was fine. I got something out of this. I moved on to something greater. And every step along the way, this place supported me. I made a decent wage. And this was good for this portion of my life. That's how I think about it. And that's how I try to relate it to the people that are coming in for us. But it's also really difficult to find people when you're being that transparent about what's going on, because there are other people that are hiring and just telling everybody everything they want to hear.
Yeah,
and
but
just telling
those
you
people that are telling everybody everything they want to hear are going to go through that same cycle again in 3 months. They're going to go through it again 3 months later. They're going to go through it again. They're going to repeat that cycle. Whereas if you're doing it right, yeah, it's hard to get them now, but you're more likely. Like, I really respect that you do that. I think that's something that I think back to previous interviews, places that have said, here's the reason you don't want to work here. I've respected the hell out of that, and I really appreciated that, because I was sure as hell was going to ask questions to get to that anyway, right? But I mean, that is the beginning of kind of that SWOT analysis for your company and the position that you're hiring, or the need that you have, and being able to push that forward. So I think that's great. I don't want to discount that. Yeah, it does push people away, but getting a ton of applicants that aren't the right fit is not better than getting a few applicants that are.
Yeah, on a similar vibe here, like I've heard of places, like from good sources, that like there's people who they're always just hiring someone new to the industry. Like they're never looking at hiring people with experience, because they don't want to pay a higher price. They always want to bring someone in at a lower price, and I'm like, we'll just train them, and then if it doesn't work out, then they're doing it again in like 3 months, like you said, or maybe it does work out, and then the person gets good, and then they leave and go somewhere else. So there's always this cycle of bringing in new blood and always having to train from the ground up, and talking to people who have been there, who have the experience and are doing the training. And like, I'm so sick and tired of training new people because that are either not going to work out, or they're going to leave and go somewhere else because they realize they can make more money somewhere else. And like that is going on there in this industry too. Like there's people just being fucking cheap and just trying to and truly looking at people as cogs. And you know what? At the end of the day, sure, I guess we are. But you know what? People are fucking burning down warehouses with Molotov cocktails now. So maybe start thinking about the people as people. But man, it's so frustrating to think that this is still going on. Like this shit was happening 10 years ago, and it's still going on, that breweries who have been open for a decade now still want to just hire someone cheap off the streets, and like, we can train them up, and not thinking about, oh, the people who you're having train them are trying to do their own jobs while train a completely green person on the job, and then we'll be training 3 more people in the year the same position, because you won't hire people with skill and knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, I see this a lot happen, not just in beer, but in industries that started off on the backs of volunteer labor, right?
Yeah.
Those tend to pay lower because you were always able to get people for free, which I always think is criminal, should be criminal. Um, but it automatically devalues the role. It lowers the going rate. It makes it easy for people to lowball and go lower because there's always someone willing to work for free on some of this stuff. And I do think there's a difference between an internship and actual work. I also think internships should be paid. But I think you know companies that have even started small but grew rapidly, but they were just, they love to tell the story how they started out of a garage. Those are the ones I'm probably the most leery of, because they got so used to being able to shoestring so many things and people working so many hours that they don't realize that when you were three people and they were all giving everything to it and they weren't making money and they were doing this, it was for the love of the game. And by the time you're at 100 people, you can't expect everyone to be doing it for the love of the game. You have to realize that you now have employees, not volunteers or committed people or those things. The dynamic shifts, and I think sometimes that's hard for, especially like bigger companies where the original founders are still very much an active part, right? They haven't learned how to let go of those types of things. They still fond memories from wax dipping bottles at 3 a.m. or some bullshit like that. And then you have other people that I had a coworker that was always trying to get free help and temps and all these things, and I was like, hey man, don't devalue our position by turning it into something that anybody can do. It's like, I would like to make more money. I would like to get a raise. And I would like to say, hey, I'm doing these things you can't just hire off of the street to get. And if you keep on trying to turn it into something that we can hire, anybody can do this job. Well, yeah, maybe, but don't discount my years of experience. That's something that has value, that has decision making that you don't see. Like those are all those other things where I feel like we've done a good job of cutting ourselves off as an industry with that.
Kevin, did you ever hear the term I could teach a brewery I'm sorry, I could teach a monkey to make wort?
Oh, I mean, not directed towards me, but certainly I've heard that. I mean, I think the idea is, I think everyone thinks in an abstract that anyone can be trained to do this. And we were talking a little bit before we went live here to do this about some of the horror stories that I've experienced with hiring and people who could not figure out where water flowed. Like it goes to the lowest point, not the highest point. And no, not you couldn't, right? There's tons of, and by the way, and when I make that comment, the person I'm specifically speaking about is an educated, smart. They're a smart person. They're a good person. They just weren't good at this. This was not what they were skilled at. This was not what they were proficient in. Maybe they're really good at math, or they're whatever, great at social studies. I don't know, but this was not what they were supposed to be doing. And I think we have to make sure we understand that. Just because you're not the right fit to work in a brewery doesn't mean you're not the right fit to work in like every other industry ever, because you could be. But I do think that there is this idea that we can always train people up. And I so appreciate, Mike, your passion about this and the way you described it, and Tim, you kind of following up and giving kind of context to it. What I hear when you guys are saying this is, and I am not discounting the people who are suffering or people who are being undervalued in these positions. But what I'm hearing is that these breweries are shooting themselves in the foot. They are their own worst enemy, and they are not ever going to be successful because they're making bad hiring decisions and wasting good money. And that's what we're going to end up, that they're going to end up failing. And I think if you look at the brewing industry overall over the last 5 years, I think you've seen that. It's not just the fact that there's too much competition out there. It's the fact that we don't have people fostering good relationships and good understanding within the brewery. There is no doubt that I have wanted to hire people with no experience. There are several instances, if Ralph is listening to this, he can count them on his hand, of us bringing in people who were just passionate beer people that were like, I'm an retiree that, worked for this other company for a long time, and I love your beer and I would love to work here. And I could pay them not that much because they don't need that much, and bring them in. And Ralph had to train them and he had to work at it. And they did not work out, and they probably never were going to work out. But I, within my budget, needed to kind of do that at that time, right? And it was presented to me. And by the way, I tried to give my people say in it and to have this conversation. It wasn't just thrust upon them. Now I'm probably just justifying it. I'm an asshole. But the whole point is that I've experienced that, and I know what it feels like from the ownership side of it and the hiring manager side of it, why people do that. But more and more you realize as throwing good money after bad is not the way to get better. And if you never figure that out, eventually the doors close.
Well, and that's why I say hiring managers need to be better about saying that they're looking for a settler person. No, I'm looking at someone who's going to bring this and this and this to my team. Some of that might be experience. Some of it might just be ability. But it's a lot of the other things that we need to start being more honest and ask ourselves those questions before we do that hiring. Like, what are you looking for? Don't tell me
trying to accomplish.
I'm not trying. Don't tell me I'm looking for someone to take gravities. Don't tell me that. I can determine whether or not I can train you to do that. That's one thing, right? And I'm fine bringing in someone who has no experience to do that. But if I really need someone who's going to work independently, that's going to learn, that's going to make decisions when I'm not there, like not like hard decisions, but there are a lot of people that, like, given no task list, will just end up doing nothing rather than finding something to do. Those types of things, and you can't.
Some of those too.
You can't be a successful manager gives them enough things to do, but also hires the right people that find things to do when there's not. So that, because you can't also be, if I'm with you 24/7, then I should just be doing the job. That's silly, right? So yeah, I mean, I get it why, like, sometimes that decision gets made. And I certainly hope that you're right, that those are the people that are going to eventually learn or fail. But like Mike was saying, we were having these conversations 10 years ago, and I don't know that I've necessarily seen that come true in all places. I
mean, the one place Mike talked about specifically, they're not in business anymore. I'm just saying, and by the way, and this is the real kicker in that, when that place goes out of business, it doesn't just go out of business for the owner, it goes out of business for the employees there that also were making a salary. And even if that salary was not the best, it was still the salary that they were counting on. And I, part of me, we talk so much about this industry and we're so negative, right? That's all we ever hear. We're the most negative, podcast in the history of mankind. And we look at these things happening, and part of me, there's a Schadenfreude kind of thing where, like, oh yeah, those guys were terrible and they went out of business. Good. Someone lost their fucking job, right? And in some cases, 10 people lost their jobs. And, now they're abandoning this industry because there's no other places for them to go. All the other breweries have people, and hopefully they're going on and living their best life and finding something else to do. But that's another aspect of this that is really interesting. We've seen so many breweries close in my neck of the woods, in Mike's neck of the woods, and we do not have a glut of people who are trying to find jobs in this industry. Is that because they were never qualified in the first place? Hence some of the things that you guys were just talking about. It was because they were just burnt out by the industry because they weren't paid well and not appreciated. I'm very interested in that idea.
So I think this is a fantastic thing because this works a couple ways. I remember so many times at different breweries hearing people say, "Oh, I wouldn't hire someone who worked at X brewery because they fucking suck." And it's like, okay, you're going to hold this against an employee who was possibly green to the industry when they started there and was taught possibly wrong. You have the potential to take someone who now has a little bit of experience and mold them and create and try to right some of those wrongs, but you won't even bother with that person because they worked for a brewery which most likely you didn't like them because you didn't like their owner, because they rubbed you the wrong way, or maybe they stole a handle from you at some point. Like it's fucking it's silly. But
Yeah.
also the I I'm gonna show my ass here for not literally, but like this
We're
is
on
probably,
camera now. You can do it.
but this is probably a story that like while I was working at Copperpoint is something I probably shouldn't have said, but like I'm not there anymore. When I was transitioning out of being a brewery employee and going into the marketing full time was, or being just solely marketing, I wasn't full time, but uh, we needed to find someone to take my place in the brewery. And there was a person uh, who worked at that previous brewery that I worked at that was closing down, who was over at our place all the time. Like even before they came down, she was a regular. She came in with other employees of the brewery and hung out. When that place was closing down, we were storing some of their stuff in our brewery, and she would come over and like take that stuff and sell it to other people. She was in charge. She was in the liaison of selling shit.
The liquidator.
Yeah. And I got into talking to her, and I was like, you know what? She knows a decent bit. Like what did you do over there? And when it came time for me to step away, I knew that she didn't have a job other than like she was doing some part-time stuff here and there for some different places. I was like, you should hire her. Like, she's smart. She is like, she doesn't know everything, but I think that she can. Like, she can really learn well. And I was pretty much told, no. They hired a person who we had working part time in the brewery at the time into my full time position. Person who I did not like, a person who showed up late every single day, and I chewed him out for showing up late. And I told my boss, I'm like, we can't deal with him here. Like he he is green. I'm trying to train him, and he is just not here, and he doesn't pick up stuff well, where we have someone who worked right down the street who knows pretty much the basics. All we just got to teach her is our way of doing things, and she'll catch on real quick. Nope. They hired that guy. All right, whatever. He was there for like another 6 months before he moved away to another state. And you know who they hired? The girl who I said, and she's still working there today. And like that would have been the right choice. You would have saved so much time and energy just hiring her in the first place.
Yeah, there's so few things as demoralizing when you are an employee seeing a new hiring process happen in real time and know they're making the wrong choice, only to be proven right. Like I can think of in certain roles here recently where someone was hired and it was not the right fit, and everyone but the hiring manager knew it wasn't the right fit. And lo and behold, 6 months later, a month later, whatever, that person is no longer in that role, and they eventually learned that wasn't. And it's like, and I get that, like it's tough, and there is a certain amount of unrecognized ego in hiring too. Not like I know better, but like you trust your gut feel so much more than you should. That's one of the hardest things as a hiring manager is divorcing themselves from their gut feel. Too many people like to hire based on feel or vibes, which is dumb. That's why you have to go through the exercise of writing down what am I really looking for? What are these things? Give yourself those anchors. But then also like understand that when you make a bad hire, yeah, maybe you're paying the price because you're having to redo that 6 months later, but recognize that has an effect on morale on your team of those people that were there before that bad hire are still there after that bad hire, and understand that can have a cascading effect.
Absolutely.
I agree with everything you've said, Tim. Everything down to the letter. I also think that I could make the complete opposite argument that hiring managers do not rely enough on their gut feel and just are worried about need. Like completely oblivious to their gut feel of the fact that this person is not going to work out. They are not the right fit. But man, do I need someone that ticks all these boxes on like a Google form. And so I'm going to hire. And by the way, that is what's so maddening about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you are 100% right. But in so many situations, it's a complete opposite. I hired a head brewer at one point who I knew from the first interview was not going to work out. I knew it from, and my suspicions were backed up by every single person I talked to.
Mm-hmm.
But I needed someone with a skill set to come in and do something. And my partners and I sat down and talked about it, and we worked ourselves into an understanding that this could work, even though I'm pretty sure no one wanted to do it because we all had a bad feeling about it. And within weeks, it was the worst thing that we had ever done for the brewery. Within months, it was done and blown up, and we had fostered ill will amongst our good employees that worked their ass off, and had to redo and rebuild the foundation. And it's so interesting. It is. I was using, Mike. You'll appreciate this. I was using this in a conversation with a candidate earlier this week. Is that I worked at a brewery where my boss said, we don't do all that science stuff here. We do Jedi brewing, right? We work on feel. And when I first heard that, I said, my God, what have I done? Why am I here? Is this real life? Is this how I'm going to live the rest of my life here? I think we make the mistake. I'll put it this way. I think we make the mistake of saying, like, if you go all by feel, that's the right way, or you go all by your method, it's the right way. There has to be something in the middle. There has to be something where you take a measured approach of how you're kind of feeling about how this person interacts with you and what their past has, but also give them an opportunity. One of the things that we have to do, in my opinion, it's a moral mandate. People who have made mistakes in the past and done things that might, quote unquote, disqualify them in many people's minds, we're all human and we can all grow. We can all get better at something. I think we have to understand that and give people an opportunity, but we also cannot be completely blind to the realities of what that might have been in the past. And it's really hard to strike that balance.
I just want to say real quick that it had not been long enough since I had heard the term Jedi brewing I needed at least another 20 years before I heard that again.
Sorry,
Uh,
Mike.
I would also like to point out that the guy that we tried really hard to fire was the Padawan of Jedi Brewing. Uh, so
The Padawan.
that storyline kind of
It connects.
completes, or it connects. Yeah.
I think one thing that I see places struggle with, particularly in brewing, is a lot of people that are brewery owners or brewery founders also came from no experience.
Oh, yeah.
To the point where they almost de-emphasize experience or education or knowledge, where they want to say, oh, that's not important to me. Now again, experience, you can ask the right questions in an interview to and not just tell me about this job. Like, you can ask questions to figure out, was someone really sell counting yeast, or did they just say that they've done that? Like, what is there someone that was really doing these things, or did they just say that? You can get that through the right questions. It's not always easy, but you have to be thoughtful with those questions. But there's some that almost get to the point where they don't understand. Whoa, no, this person actually probably the best. This is what really comes down to. The best hiring managers know that I'm not hiring you because I'm smarter than you. I should be hiring you because you're smarter than me. Like, I want you to make me better, not have me be better than you. Like, that's the whole point of hiring. You're hiring to fill something that you're not doing or can't do. So go find someone who can and will and do it better than you and learn from them. And that's hard when so many of these people that are apparently Jedi brewing came up from this homebrew. I was doing this, and like I said, the whole idea of I was doing this in my garage, so everyone, A, anyone can do it. B, I can teach you, and I know the right way. And C, I don't need any of that. I'm not gonna get enough from that. Well, no, you probably will. You hire the right experienced person, you're gonna get 10 times what you expected.
Kevin was like, when they hired Kevin, we were like so thrilled. We're like, oh, here's someone with experience, and it's someone that we love. Like coming aboard here, like, you were the first person with experience to come into that brewery, and like it was fantastic. But like I think that there are, like Tim said, and I don't even think that you truly like said the thing, but like you kind of danced around it. Like, there are people who don't want to hire people with that experience because they don't want to have someone smarter than them there that shows them up and tells them that they're wrong.
That is 100% true.
My favorite brewery owners are the ones that were the head brewer when they founded it and very quickly learned that they're not the head brewer and went out and hired a real one. But there's an awful lot that refuse to believe it and still think that the head brewer, even though A, maybe they haven't touched the product in a while, and B, they don't know the best way to do it. They knew the best way when they were doing it out of their garage, or when they were lifting it up, or when they were trying to do these small things. But, again, when you get to any type of scale, more than the first 3 employees, you got to start thinking about things radically different.
There's unfortunately, talking about the hiring, the entire aspect of hiring, once you've made the decision, and we've talked so much about the decision and all those aspects, but once you've brought that person in, you have to empower them.
Yeah.
You have to see what they have to bring to the table. And if you've done your job right, to what you're just talking about, Tim, they're making you better.
Yeah.
If you just handicap them and say, oh, no, I'm going to teach you how we do things around here. Yes, you do. This is how we keg beer. And nothing makes me happier. And I've experienced this personally. I can't experience it personally now because I sit up on my ass and do fucking emails. But when I was down on the brewing floor, nothing is better than someone going, why are you doing it this way when you can do it this way? And you go, oh shit, How the fuck didn't I figure that out?
Yeah.
And then you start doing it the better way. And then you know something and you've been taught something and everyone's life is better.
Yeah.
And it's one of the biggest challenges to allow someone to bring in their knowledge and their understanding. And you have to strike a balance there where they're willing to learn what you do and not, and also you don't want someone that's like, every 30 seconds, well, I can do it this way. Let me teach you how this goes. Let me teach you everything we do. And then you show me things that we could do a little bit better. But also be humble in that. Maybe it's not better. Let's have a conversation about it. But the best managers, forget bringing people in, but the best managers, the best head brewers are ones that value the input and say, you have something to bring to this team. And if I don't allow you to bring it to this team, I've failed.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. You don't want someone coming constantly, but like there's also very much something to be said for this is the way we do it here. I know the way you learned it. This is the way we do it here. Convince me that's better and I'll change.
Yes. Give
but
me
at the
evidence.
same time, still do it this way, because one of the things that I struggle with, and I've done this in previous roles, is somebody who wants to do it different than everyone else. Are they doing it wrong? No. Million ways to do X task. But you know what drives product consistency? Process consistency.
Yep.
And you may not realize that running the pump at this speed versus this speed makes a difference, but it all makes a difference, whether you know it or not. Just the fact that your teammates aren't having to second guess, well, is he doing this differently than me? So maybe that pump speed didn't make a big difference, but maybe now I'm second guessing how he's doing this because he does this differently. Like, the Industrial Revolution happened because of the assembly line. Period. Like, doing things over and over the sameness drove the Industrial Revolution. That's the whole point, right?
I was definitely in the era of, I hated SOPs at one point. I'm like, the SOP, like, what the fuck is the point of SOP? Like, just like nothing is ever going to be consistent. And then I realized, like, that fucking person who said that's dumb, because the SOPs like make everything consistent. Like, it's not just that making that process consistent, it's about everything down the line then being consistent. And then if you have a problem, you trace back and try to find where along the SOP got fucked up and fix it from there. So yeah.
Well,
With you, Tim.
I think the best like conceptual idea is like if you bring in a brewer and he's like, I can make your white ale much better. And every time I do it this way. And the beer's actually better, but it never tastes the same. So people are like, well, when I drink the Wizard, is it the good version or the not so good version? Right? Yeah. You've done nothing positive for the brewery. You've just brought chaos. So the right people bring ideas to the table. They sit down with the head brewer, even in that uncomfortable situation where they're like, I'm telling my boss that I think we should do something differently. The boss has to be willing to listen and say, let's change the SOP. Yeah. Let's make changes, meaningful changes, because we've got new information. That's science, right? We have new information that's been brought to the table. Eureka, we figured out something, and thank you very much for bringing this to us, and let's get better, right? One of the main things I said to a couple of the people that I was, not when I was hiring for a sales rep, it's a very different kind of position. It's not a production position. They don't have any influence over that. But one of the things that I was talking with about some of the people I interviewed recently, it was like, our beer is not a finished product. I don't think that we make the best white ale, the best IPA, the best anything in the world. And if we don't, then there's always room for improvement. So if you're the person that wants to come in and teach us how to make this better, I would be a fool if I didn't listen to you. Right? And we're not bringing you in to not make things better. We're bringing you in to be a voice that hopefully will. And I do feel terrible in situations where people are brought into a situation and they don't have any voice and they can't express themselves and they can't say how they feel. Mike, you gave me the example of when we worked together, and I've told you this personally. I probably said this on the show. I was very lucky. Our boss listened to me. He didn't listen to a lot of other people, and I was able to make some real changes. Not all the changes I wanted, but some changes. That was a luxury in that situation. And once I left, all those changes just got thrown out the window, and then they just went to different, that's the way it worked. But when you're given the ability to make meaningful change, that's a wonderful feeling, and that in and of itself is value added to that position that you cannot quantify. As long as you're making enough money, but you can't quantify that aspect of it.
It's funny thinking back to that time with having you there and then you leaving. It's almost like it's reverting back to stuff was like, fuck him, he left. Let's get rid of that stuff. It wasn't so much that he was wrong. It was just, fuck him, he left. Let's get rid of it. But like, not obviously not by the people working in the brewery, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, so like, just try. And so, Kevin, you're going through this right now. You're trying to find someone in your brewery in the year of someone's Lord 2026 for the brewing industry that is, according to what I see here, not doing great. Oh, sorry, that was too negative. Not doing wonderful. What is it? Just the tone? Is it the tone?
Yeah,
do I have to do the tone?
No, just smile more. You're good. That's creepy.
No, that looks
that
painful. It feels painful. But like, so what's? You don't have to get into details like this, but like, is the people applying for this position, like, what is it like on like the scale of people with skills towards not people with skills? Like, are you getting as many candidates as you would like 5 years ago for something? Like, what's it like?
We've only had a handful of people reach out, and it's kind of like a 50-50 mix of people who are just like, I'm interested in this industry and I've always wanted to do it. And a handful of people who are like, I've brewed beer for a living and I'm interested in your position. I was actually kind of shocked that we got as many candidates as we did. Excuse me. Because in the past, when we've looked to fill roles, we got fewer hits, so to speak. We didn't go the Indeed route, which we did some years back. And, I respect anyone for reaching out and trying to get a job. So I'm confident that nobody who applied for these jobs years ago is listening to this podcast. So I feel confident saying this. I had people that I reached out to and said, okay, well, you worked as a sanitation engineer. Why beer? Do you like beer? Do you drink beer? He's like, no, I just want a job. Oh, okay. Do you drink beer? Nope, don't like it. Oh, great. I think we're gonna go in a different direction here, because like that is kind of like the candidate you get when you put a mass job posting out there, and people just can flood your inbox with tons of resumes. This time we did social media. We put some stuff on some brewing forums, and we got some pretty good candidates. So we were a little more targeted this time, but even the people that were more passionate about beer in general had real reasons. Hey, I love your brewery, or hey, I used to homebrew, or I have some other reasons for wanting to do this a little bit later in life, and having some different priorities. So it's this has been one of the better experiences I've had trying to hire someone in that space, in the sales space. That's always a little bit different because sales can translate. If you sold Coca-Cola, you could kind of sell beer, right? If you sold, Mazda Miatas, you could kind of sell beer, right? So it's a little bit different as far as the skill set and like kind of like the wide the net that you cast. But this has been encouraging, quite frankly.
So I'm seeing a collaboration idea here of a three-way collaboration: Barrel of Monks, Coca-Cola, Mazda. Is Mazda still a thing? Do they still exist?
Yeah. I don't know. I have no clue.
Mazda's still a thing. I don't know that the Miata is still a thing. I don't know that cars and beer really go well together, but
you don't think?
Very, very true. Very true.
Although I've seen a lot of TikToks about people building a turning their trunk in the car into a kegerator. I don't know if you've seen this trend here lately. It's a terrible idea. I mean, I think one of the things that has become interesting about hiring is, you always get the advice if you're looking for a job. They're always like, don't just rely on applying on websites. Like, build your network, follow the brands you care about, think about, like all those types of things. I think hiring has really gotten to be that too. Don't just post the job, talk to people, but work your network, do those types of things, right? Because you're gonna find that effort is worth a lot more than just like the scatter shot of resumes out, 300 resumes out a day might not find you the right job. Getting 300 resumes right a day might not get you the right candidate. Like, there's the other ways. Like, I think places that post only on social media, not on Indeed, make more sense because you're trying to target your fans rather than people that are just looking for a job type of thing. You'll still get shitty candidates that come through there too.
Are you saying like when people should be like networking, do you think that they should like link in with like other people in the industry and, like try to, connect with others, try to expand their network?
Now that we're on video, people can see the look that I'm giving you.
I hope that we can kind of like end this podcast with that joke that Tim is completely no-selling, that I am watching the joy on Mike's face as he is saying it. Everything about this is beautiful to me. I thank both of you for your participation in that joke. And
so you don't question my commitment to Sparkle Motion.
No, it was wonderful. It was great. The happiness on your face. You were glowing, Mike. You were glowing as you were saying that. And Tim was just dead eyes staring down the eye of his camera, saying, "No, I will not be a part of this. This shall not stand."
I just need to. I need to tell you about the power of AI and how you need to harness it. Everyone in my network. Fuck up.
Mike, stop touching your face.
What?
I said, Mike, stop.
Sorry.
While I'm doing the same thing, but still.
You're allowed to. It's not a character trait of you.
It's just your thing.
And it's also a character trait of me that I created for myself after one episode of this being on video.
I think we solved all of hiring in the craft beer and beverage space industry, and I think anyone
solved the hiring crisis.
I think everyone listening to this that is in any way, shape, or form a part of this system is more confused, more frustrated, and also more validated than they ever have been. And isn't that what we're here for?
But yes, we are here to just move you along, whether that's in the right direction or not. That is not what we're here for.
Yeah, I just came from here. That's fine. You're good.
Go to LinkedIn and just read posts. Or go to Reddit and find the LinkedIn Lunatics subreddit. I think that's what it's called. And realize like that's why you shouldn't be on LinkedIn. Because holy fuck, is that just a cesspool? I am actually on there. I don't know why. I probably because I hate myself. That's probably why.
Fair assessment.
That's definitely why. So hire nobodies, hire everybody, hire all the people, but none of the people. Hire experience and no experience. Don't hire, but hire. I think that sums up this episode.
Yeah. If you agree with us, you're right. If you disagree with us, you're right.
Thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up. Bell, notifications, YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
You if you agree with us, you're right. If you disagree with us, you're right. Should be the catchphrase of our entire podcast. that should just accompany us at all times. Can we have shirts that say that, Mike?
Yeah.
Because I'll buy 2.
Your dad will buy 7.
He might.
Or for however many the next family reunion is.
That's 2 episodes in a row with merch ideas. So
I mean, we're coming. I mean, listen, this is this visual medium is really bringing out our creativity.
All right. Does anyone else have any other wonderful words of wisdom towards hiring?
I why would I start now?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
That's true. Quit while we're behind.
Yeah.
All right. Let's head on into last calls, the point in the show where we give each other an unspecific amount of time to talk about whatever it is that we want, beverage related or not. The only rules are that it is unopposed, unobjected, uninterrupted. I did that backwards, I believe. So for today, let's start with Kevin.
As I mute my microphone for a second. So, years ago on this show, when Joel was around, I was thinking about him the other day, we would talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe all the time. And I was like this big cheerleader of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And we would talk about even like the hits and misses, talk about, movies we didn't like, TV shows we didn't like, but mostly like praising how much we loved it. And I have so gotten out of it. I've continued to watch some things, but I'm no longer watching the movies in the theaters anymore. And I'm not following and watching like the breakdowns on like Screen Crush and all that kind of stuff. But I'm still passively following stuff when it comes onto Disney Plus. And recently, I watched Wonder Man. What an amazing freaking show. One of the most artistically brilliant, unique superhero takes I've ever seen. Allie and I, as we were sitting down, I'm not sure. I'm going to credit this to her because I might have said it, but it doesn't matter. She's smarter than me. It was like if like Wes Anderson did a superhero show or movie. There was a feel about it that seemed indie in the best possible way. It was not cookie cutter. It was brilliantly acted. It was uncomfortable and beautiful. Ben Kingsley is a fucking treasure. But everything about that show it reminded me of when Marvel did Ant-Man for the first time and they did a heist movie in the superhero genre. Or they did a different kind of genre in a superhero film. This was this beautiful character study that immersed you in everything. And it was just, I can't put any other, it was just unique. It was special because it was different. And it was a take that I had not seen on the genre before. And if you're like me and you're a little bit of a Lapsed fan, because kind of like behind on everything, and you're like, I think I might be out. I think the last thing I loved was Loki season 2, which was legitimately brilliant. give this a try. The acting from every level is perfect. The pacing, I just loved it. I think it was one of the best things I've seen in the superhero genre and specifically in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in a long time. And I heard that they're doing another season. I was like, you're goddamn right. Because this is the kind of vibe and interest you should be bringing to the greater films of the MCU, because this is what we want. We want unique stories told from an interesting perspective by great filmmakers. We've had that. They diluted it. They're bringing it back, at least in this TV format, and I hope they do more of it.
Awesome. So I just wanted to point out, I I don't remember. I think I talked about hockey on my last call. So I want to talk about hockey kind of sort of in this again. And but this isn't about the Flyers. And this is about a player for the Tampa Bay Lightning, Victor Hedman, the captain of the Lightning, who just recently put out a statement about his struggles with mental health. And this is a 17-year pro, the captain of one of the biggest franchises in the NHL, the Tampa Bay Lightning, multi-time Stanley Cup champions. He is a multi-time Stanley Cup champion, and talked about how he pulled himself from a game earlier this season after just a few shifts because he was not in a good headspace. And this is a person who is supposed to be a big, tough guy in a big, tough sport, and talking about feelings, for lack of a better term. And this is something that this guy, he didn't need to put out a statement about something like this. He didn't need to talk about why he was taking a break from hockey. Like, he should have been he's 17 years with this team. Like, he should be afforded the ability to, you know what? Just say that I have an upper body injury, because that's what hockey likes to do. Upper body, lower body, just say something like that. But no, he decided to come out and say, yeah, I struggled. Yeah, I worked with a therapist. I worked with my family. I worked with the team, and everyone had my back. And it's a beautiful thing. And to think that there are probably people out there who would read a statement like that and say, like, that's not a man. No, that's a fucking man right there. Like, we need more men who are going to be willing to say things like that and be vulnerable, no matter what their position and their job title is. And I am a Flyers fan, ride or die. But Victor Hedman, you have gotten a place in my heart and in my mind, and I love you for this. And I hope that more players can see a statement like this and be able to admit that they have issues and work on it and get themselves better. Because we know that hockey has issues with brain injuries, and that can lead to mental health problems. And the more people who don't have premature deaths coming from that sport, the better. So big ups to Victor Hedman, big ups to the Tampa Bay Lightning for supporting him. And yeah, go hockey. I fucking love hockey. Hockey playoffs are one of the best things in all of sports. And even though at this time of recording, we're down 2-0 to the Hurricanes, we could be out by the time that this episode comes out. I love playoff hockey like nothing else. So go hockey. Tim?
It's not fair that I'm not able to respond. I just think there's a chance to reference, and I'll sketch where he says, let's do that hockey. And that's all I could think of when you said go hockey. So let's do that hockey. Maybe that's my last call. I'll just check out the Chance the Rapper NHL announcer sketch. It's pretty funny. No, you know, what I want to talk about is just how much I love um, the Twin Cities in the springtime when it eventually gets here. Since we've had 3 fake springs so far, but when it gets here, I'm excited. Like Sea Salt, the restaurant over by the falls opened up, and you're seeing people walking around the lake, not in parkas, and I'm anxious to get the canoe out on the water. I'm at a place right now where I need it. Very frankly, my depression has not been great lately, and the weather does not help, and being cooped up inside does not help. And there's a lot of really good therapy to getting outside, and I am really, really excited to be able to spend more time actually enjoying the outdoors. This winter was shit. The weather was too awful. Like the ice wasn't good. You couldn't really ice fish. You couldn't really do like it was just shit this winter. So it felt like it was wasted. I didn't get out on the ice once. I didn't get out snowboarding once. Um, I just sort of hid. Um, so I'm just really, really, really excited for spring to be here and to do that here in the Twin Cities after the winter we had, the adventures that we had in January with our city being occupied. And by the way, they're not all gone. They're still not gone. They've switched to drones. They're still abducting people off the street. They're not all gone. We're not done. We won the battle, not the war with that. But it just, I don't know, it just gave me a renewed sense of love and appreciation for the people around this city. And I burn a lot of bridges around this town, and I really regret that. But I can tell you that I still wouldn't. I it, you'd be hard pressed to get me to live anywhere else, and I can't believe I never thought I'd say that. But I love this place so much. So I guess maybe this is the Tim Johnson Twin Cities Tourism Board advocating for people to come visit us. That's what I got.
So to segue off of that, the Tim Johnson Minnesota Tourism Board has convinced
Let's work on two
Kevin
people.
and Mike to come visit Minnesota this June, not January. I would, I'd like to do it in a January sometime, but no, this June, Kevin and I are heading to the Twin Cities to visit Tim and to hang out. And we are going to have a United We Drink hangout on Saturday, June 13th at Bad Weather Brewing in neighboring St. Paul. And we're going to try to get there around 2 p.m. So anyone who is in the Twin Cities and wants to hang out, we're going to be at Bad Weather. Andy, our friend of the show, is brewer over there, and I can't wait to try his beers for the first time. Like, he posts about his beers, and they are fucking awesome looking. He's the leader of bloggers. Just how blah loggers are, and I can't wait to put a whole lot of blah in me. And this is a trip that is a long time coming, and we are stoked to get to go all hang out in the same place. So yeah, if you're in the Twin Cities, Saturday, June 13th, we're going to hang out at Bad Weather. And, we'll be hanging out at other places. So I'm sure if you've been a previous host or a friend, or you get to know us there, you'll probably hang out with us in some other places too. Eric, we'll see you for sure. Sam, we'll see you for sure. Can't wait for this. It's going to be a fun time.
Looking forward to it.
I'm very much looking forward to it. You can ask my coworkers how many times I've talked about it, or asked the best place to find a bucket of baseballs for cheap. I found a bucket for baseballs for like $40, and I was like, let's settle down. It just, and like all the reviews definitely aren't AI. This is like this fills all of my bucket needs. And I'm like, all right, come on, seriously.
Yes, we're going to try to go hit some dingers somewhere, but we'll see. Anyone want to plug anything other than our hangout in Minnesota?
I want to kind of piggyback off what, both of you guys have talked about, whether today or, in the past. And what I had talked about earlier on with the Breaking the Silence release for a Bear LeMonks, wherever you are, there is a charity that is taking funds and directly funneling it towards mental health. They're not raising awareness. They're taking funds and getting people the help they deserve and they need. And we do not value mental health like we do physical health. When someone's heart is fucked up, we try to fix it. When someone's brain is fucking struggling, we don't try to help them. We need more money going to people who need just therapy, that need intervention, that need people around them. So wherever you are, and we're doing this thing for first responders because I have a connection to it. It's first responders because that's my connection. It's not first responders because that's the most important group of people. Everyone deserves that. We need more insurance companies to fund this. That's a given. So vote for people who support that too. But if you have a few extra dollars and you can find a charity in your neck of the woods that is using money to fund help for people, throw a few bucks at it. It is everything to people.
Hear, hear. Go to our website, knowyourwedrink.com. In the show description for this episode, we'll have a link to some places where you can show some help and show some love. Tim?
So a friend of mine has launched a new website called 14visuals.com. Please go ahead and check out some great photography, graphic design work. Follow him on Instagram and give him a little bit of love. That's 14 spelled out, 14visuals.com.
I think I know that guy. Yeah, so what Tim said. If you want to support our show, you can go to our website, knowyourwedrink.com, check out the brands we love page. Cold brew season is coming up. Go check out Trade Coffee, get some coffee beans to make some cold brew at home. I'm also revamping our web store as we speak and trying to add some new products to that. So check out knowyourwedrink.com/store here soon, and we'll have some new options for shirts, buttons, stickers, totes, cell phone covers, a lot of different options over there.
VHS tapes of the podcast.
Exactly.
We're
tapetraders.com, something like that. Or on the ICQ or AIM, you can do that on there. But we'll be back in a couple of weeks with another new episode. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Let us know what you think about the whole video thing. Is it working for you? Is it not? I don't know. Tell us. We'd love to hear from you. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers.